Chapter 32. I have a temper. Hasn't everyone? I'm no more or less out of control than you are, no more likely to lash out than you. It's all about the triggers. We all have one. Just because you haven't found yours yet doesn't mean it isn't there. Better than you know about it. Otherwise, one day, someone will press your buttons and the red mist will descend. Know your trigger and you can control it. At least that's the theory. Mine's alcohol. I'm not your stereotypical drunk. You won't find me asleep in doorways with piss down my trousers and a can of tenants extras in one hand. I won't roll down the hill shouting at strangers, getting into fights. I'm what they call a functional alcoholic. Smart suits, never a hair out of place, schmoozing customers, giving them the patter, smiling at the staff a drink at lunchtime. Why not? That was a great sale. Money makes it easier. Look at the races. Look at the pretty young things in their posh hats tottering along with a bottle of champagne in each hand. It's fun, right? But swap the posh hats for filthy beanies and the bubbly for cooking brandy, and you cross the streets to stay out of their way. Money means silver hip glass at a school sports day, when paper bag concealed whiskey will cause an outcry. Money means you can drink Bloody Marys on a Sunday morning, G&Ts after work, Pims whenever there's a glimpse of sun and nobody gives you a second glance. I had my pick-me-ups, of course. You can't drink Bloody Marys when you're wrapping up a test drive, but you can sip from a water bottle of alcohol vodka. You can take a swig from something stashed among posh plant pots in your desk under the stairs. When I started drinking, I drank for fun. Later, I drank because I couldn't stop. Somewhere in the middle, I'd lost my way. The baby trapped me. You wanted marriage, domesticity, family trips to the zoo. I wanted my old life. I miss London. I miss noisy nights in bars, picking up a one night stand and not caring if the bed was cold when I woke up. I miss taking home a paycheck without worrying whether the business would afford it. I miss my freedom. It made me bitter, resentful, angry, all of which I could handle sober. My trigger is alcohol. Alcohol makes me lose control. It makes me numb to the consequence of my actions. It makes my fists fly. I know a lot about functioning alcoholics. I know a lot about anger now. I knew a lot then too, except how to stop. Chapter 33. Anna. Mum takes a piece of paper from my pocket and folds it. It's black and white, photocopy of the inside of a card. Suicide? Think again. The card I was sent. I think of how hard that day was, how I woke up with a grief tugging at my heart, and how many minutes had felt like an hour. I think of the kick in the stomach as I slid out the card to see the happy anniversary message, and the nausea as I read the message inside. On Mum's photocopy beneath the printed message, and scrawled in red marker pen, is another line. I could tell her everything. Dad sent it? She nods slowly, reluctantly. But why? To show me I couldn't get away that easily, that he could still control me, even from the grave. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I thought I'd been so clever. I went somewhere we'd never been together, somewhere I hadn't been for years. I rented a horrible flat because it was the only place the landlord didn't ask for references. I cleaned loose for cash in hand. I didn't go online. I didn't make any contact with anyone, even though I wanted to. And I wanted to so much, and he still found me. It's too much to take in. You're going to have to start at the beginning. I don't understand how Dad managed it. There was a witness. She saw him jump. She doesn't speak, but her eyes say it all. My head's real. You made the 999 call. Diane Brent tell her that was you. I might have been the first in the family to go to university, but that didn't make me any cleverer than the generation before. I always knew Mum was smart, too smart to be working at reception at Johnson's Cars. But the deviousness, it's hard to take in. He planned it for weeks, talking about nothing else. He made me promise, practice, over and over. Every time I messed up, he hurt me. He gave me a mobile to make the call, made me hold it into the wind as I spoke, so my voice would be distorted. He thought of everything. You should have gone to the police. Her smile is sad, easy to say now. When someone has you under their control like that, it's hard. I think of my job, of the children around the globe everyone works fiercely to protect. So many of them are abused, coerced. So many could tell a teacher a friend, yet so few do. I kept thinking he'd never actually do it, that it was a fantasy. Then one day he woke up and said, Today, I'm doing it today, while Anna's away. I remember that morning. Enjoy yourself, he said. I was running late, rifling through my bag for my key with a piece of toast in my free hand. Dad was sitting at the island reading the Daily Mail and drinking strong black coffee. It took 2 cups to get him out of bed, 3 before he managed conversation, a fourth when he reached work to get him firing on all cylinders. Work hard, but play hard too, he winked. And that was that. He hadn't hugged me, hadn't told me he loved me, or even my sage advice I would cherish later. Just work hard, play hard. In the months after his death, I decided I was glad of the lack of ceremony. It meant he hadn't been planning to kill himself. I decided if he'd known it was the last time he was going to see me, it would have made felt different. But he did know. He just didn't care. That day was horrendous, Mum said. He picked fights with everyone. Billy, the reps, me. I thought it was an act. And he wanted to make his suicide convincing. But I wonder if it was nerves. I said it wasn't too late for him to change his mind, that we'll find a way to pay the money we owed. But you know your dad. He was always stubborn. Do I know my dad? I don't think I do anymore. When work finished, we went our separate ways. He took an Audi from work and told Bill he wanted to see how it drove. That was the last time I saw him. I can't sit still anymore. I walked to the window and stared into the garden at the big bay tree in the plot and the roses Mum trained along the fence between our garden and Robert's. I glance upwards to Robert's house and think of the planned extension and my irritational thought that he has something to do with the rabbit on our front step. I pull the curtains. What happens then? The agreement was that I'd hear nothing till 10 a.m. He'd reached the tide times. He knew that at high tide, if a body is weighed down, it can be dragged out along the seabed, that it might never be found. She shudders, but at 9:30, he sent a text to say he's sorry. She screws up her face, and I see she's trying not to cry. And I didn't know if he was sorry for what he was making me do, or for all the times he'd hurt me, or if it was just another part of his plan. I crossed the kitchen again and put the kettle on the agar, then changed my mind and take it back off. I get out 2 glasses and the bottle of whiskey reserved for his hot toddies and pour myself a finger of rich amber liquid. I look at Mum and hold out the bottle, but she shakes her head. I sip mine and hold it on my mouth until it burns. At 10, the second text comes. I can't do this anymore. I started to believe he was really going to kill himself. I decided that I had to go through with it, that no one could prove I knew anything about his plan. I did what he told me to do. I replied to his message, then I called the police. I called you. A sudden flash of anger. Have you any idea how terrifying that call was? I don't remember the drive home. I only remember the blind panic that Dad wouldn't be found, that would be too late. You should have told me. We committed a crime. Mum stands up. As she walks towards me, I take a step back. I don't mean to. My feet move off their own accord, but it makes her stop short, her in her eyes. We could have gone to prison. We still might. I didn't want to ruin your life as well as my own. We fall silent. I take another sip of whiskey. It's after midnight. Mark and Joan will be home soon. We held a memorial service for you, I said quietly. Laura organised it all. Billy made a speech. I think of the young chaplain who cried at the inquest, who found me afterwards and took my hands and told me he was sorry his actions hadn't been enough to save my mother from herself. A thought strikes me. Someone put a brick through the nursery window last night. A brick? She looks at Errol in horror. She's fine. She was downstairs with Mark. There was a note from the brick telling us not to go to the police, to stop before we got hurt. I look at Mum, who has covered her mouth with her hands, her fingers splayed across around her eyes. No, 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 no. Fear courses through me. Did Dad do it? Silence. I stand. You need to leave. Anna, please. Mark will be back soon. There's so much we need to talk about. She follows me out to the hall, trying to talk to me, but I won't listen. I can't listen to any more. I open the door, check the street is empty, then push her out into the cold, and for the second time today, I slam the door on my mum. I lean my back against the stained glass panel. I wonder if she'll knock and ring, as she did this morning. There's a moment pause, then I hear the footsteps on the steps on the gravel. Silence. My mind whirs. My father was a violent man, so cruel to Mum that she faked her own death to escape him, and now he's coming after me.